Hello and welcome. My name is Christina from Empowered Creator. I am a mindset and conscious manifesting teacher and coach, and this is my YouTube channel. Here I talk about all things law of assumption, mindset, conscious manifesting, the quantum universe, and a lot more. And my goal is to simplify everything without the fluff. So if you guys like this content and you would like to see more of it, I would love it if you would subscribe to this channel, comment on this video, like it, share it, and stick around. Also, if you need help with your specific situation, I offer one-on-one coaching, email coaching, as well as custom subliminals for whatever needs you may have. You may also want to check out my self-study mini course, Telepathically Connect with Your Specific Person. So if you guys are interested in any of these services, the links are below in the description box. Click on them and they're going to take you to my website. With all that being said, let's dive into today's video. In today's video, I want to discuss why it's actually okay to ignore your negative thoughts and your opposing thoughts. And why doing that and adopting that position can actually help you get your manifestation much faster, much easier, and much more effortlessly. So this is what I'll be discussing in today's video. Stay tuned. So I know there's a lot of talk in the manifesting community about what to do with your negative thoughts, what to do with your opposing thoughts, all these thoughts that you get about why it's difficult to have your manifestation, why your manifestation is so hard, maybe some of you even think it's impossible, why there's this obstacle or that block, or why it's difficult because the 3D is showing this or that, or because of the circumstances, or because of the old story, etc., etc. And by the way, there are many ways in which to deal with your negative thoughts and your opposing thoughts. And there's not one right or wrong way. I always say pick what resonates best with you. I always say pick what comes most naturally to you. But today specifically, I want to talk about why it is okay to actually ignore your negative thoughts and your opposing thoughts and actually staying indifferent to them. And I've talked about that in other videos before, but I want to hit it from a slightly different angle today. First of all, you need to realize that you are not your thoughts. You need to realize that you are way above and beyond your thoughts. Realizing that is the key to liberating you from the tyranny of those negative thoughts and those opposing thoughts, and from the fear you may have of those thoughts. Because if you've been manifesting for any amount of time, you have probably developed some sort of fear towards your negative thoughts that somehow they're going to manifest, somehow they're going to ruin your manifestations, somehow they need to stay under control all the time, or they might make a big mess, and then what are you going to do? But the key to freeing yourself from all that is actually realizing that you are above and beyond your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You are not identified with your thoughts. And how do we know that? There's one very simple way in which you can know it and convince yourself that this is the case. The mere fact that you know that you're thinking, that you're able to distinguish your thoughts, that you're able to be aware of having thoughts in the first place, means that there is something within you, that is your higher consciousness, that's your clue, that recognizes the fact that you're thinking. Therefore, there is something in you, there is this part of yourself that knows and recognizes that you are not your thoughts, you are above and beyond your thoughts, because you're able to recognize and become aware of the fact that you're thinking those thoughts in the first place. So I hope that makes sense, and once you realize that, that truly frees you from feeling like you are subject to your thoughts, that you are a slave to your thoughts, and that you are condemned by your thoughts, because the truth is you are not. The truth is that at your core, you are core consciousness. At your core, you are pure consciousness. You are what Neville Goddard described as your I am. That is your awareness of being, which is above and beyond any and all thoughts. So once you realize that and once you understand that, it all of a sudden becomes very clear that you are the one who rules your thoughts. Your thoughts are not what rules you, which is what most people get confused about and what most people tend to think. Now, let me make it very clear that it doesn't mean that you have absolute control over what thoughts pop in your mind in the first place, but you do have absolute control of what you do with those thoughts, how you interact with them, how you engage with them, and how you identify or don't identify with them. The fact that you have a thought doesn't mean that you have to believe that thought, doesn't mean that you have to identify with that thought, and it doesn't have to mean that you have to engage with that thought in the first place. The biggest mistake people make is associating themselves with their thoughts, believing their thoughts to such an extent that they fuse themselves with those thoughts. They don't see themselves as separate from the thoughts, And so when they're having an off day or a bad day and they're being bombarded by those thoughts that are negative, are opposing, they're telling them why their manifestation is impossible to get or so hard to get, why there are so many obstacles, they actually believe that and they actually identify with that and they start spiraling around that, while they don't realize that they could actually ignore the thoughts and stay indifferent to them. The problem, you guys, are not the thoughts themselves. The problem is, number one, the stories we build around those thoughts, and number two, the fact that we tend to believe them, to identify with them, and to adopt them as our very own. Just the mere fact that we had that thought, for most people, it means that it must be true. Here's some news for you. Nothing has to be true unless you say so. And now that you know that you are above and beyond your thoughts, that there is something in you, your higher self is above your thoughts, you can also hopefully understand and realize that you don't have to believe every thought, you don't have to identify with each and every thought, and that you don't have to fuse yourself with all those thoughts that don't serve you and don't align with what you actually want and who you actually want to be. So if your dominant state becomes a state of, I am above my thoughts, I am beyond my thoughts do not determine who I am, I do not have to believe my thoughts or identify with my thoughts, I can just observe them and stay indifferent to them, or even dismiss them very gently and just not paying them any more attention. You see how easy it becomes to fend off those thoughts, to reject them for yourself, to reject them if they don't align with your reality and who you have chosen to be as your new version of yourself, and why you don't even have to worry about flipping them or switching them to something positive, switching them to something that aligns with you, or any other method you might have been using to change those thoughts. Now let me make one thing very clear. There is nothing wrong with actually flipping your thoughts. If that's what you want to do, absolutely do it by all means. If you want to change your thoughts, if you want to write them down and write down the alternative, that's great. Or whatever other way you may have chosen to change those negative, those opposing, those unpleasant thoughts, if it helps you get rid of them and if it helps you not spiral over them, at least not on a consistent basis, then absolutely do it. Feel free to do it. But what I'm discussing here is that there's actually an even easier way, probably the most effortless way, by realizing that you don't even have to pay any attention to these thoughts. You don't even have to give them any credit. You don't have to give them any weight, any importance, much more identify with them and believe them and make them part of yourself and part of who you are being. I'll say it one more time. The problem is not the thoughts. The problem is the stories we build around the thoughts and how much we believe them and identify with them and make them ours. You're never going to have full control of what pops into your head, but if you're in a state of, I choose who I am, I choose my reality, and I know that I am above and beyond my thoughts, then no thought in the world can hurt you. No thought in the world can actually damage you. No thought in the world can make you spiral. And of course, no such thought is going to affect your manifestation in any negative or unwanted way. With all that being said, I'm going to wrap up this video here. I intend that this has helped. As always, I very much appreciate you guys being on this channel, watching this content. I love making this content for you. And as always, I look forward to seeing you all at the next video. Until then, take care and bye-bye.